I'm Catherine Sheeran, host of the podcast Horse Tales with Cat. Today's guest is a senior international judge, course designer, coach, and author. He is one of the only Canadians to have ever officiated in all four prestigious indoor shows, including Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Washington International in Washington, D.C., Madison Square Gardens in New York, and the Royal Winter Fair in Toronto. Randy Roy was named one of Canada's top 50 influencers in equestrian sport in 2020. He is also the owner and operator of Hunter's Glen Farm in Caledon. Welcome to the show, Randy.
So thank you very much for that great introduction. My gosh, I'm quite honored. Thank you.
So I have to share with our guests that you and I have gone through quite a journey today to get you on this Zoom. I'm going to tell you that Randy is speaking from his cottage up north, down by the dock, after us having to finagle our way here via the internet because the internet connection was not great. So Randy's gone to great lengths today to join us, and I'm very appreciative of that. So we're going to go back to your early days because one of the things that was fascinating for me, Randy, when I was doing research and as part of my memories growing up in Ottawa, is you being part of the very beginning of Dwyer Hill Farms in Ottawa. And as I recall, Jackie Morold, who was the heir to the Coors beer fortune, approached you and asked you to start there as the trainer. Maybe we can go back to those days and you can kind of tell me all that unfolded because it's quite a fascinating story for our listeners.
Okay. I don't want to bore you, but I could go back even further to my very humble beginnings. Is that okay?
Absolutely. I'd love that.
Okay, because I came off the mountain right now to get to the bottom of the hill so we can actually have this happen. So the very beginning of time, I came from the Aylmer, Quebec, on the Aylmer Road. Aylmer Witchwood Drive, and I was a young boy and probably all my life in love with the horse. Love, love, love. Fascinated, loved them. I didn't know if it was going to be a part of my life. I would crawl under the fence to the Aylmer Fairgrounds across the street and look at all the riders just to notify some notorious famous riders such as Ian, Torchy Miller, John Atack, Ronnie Davidson, Linda Stewart, Jane Fleming, David and Elsie Lancaster, Shirley Prosser, Donna Gramling, and so many more. And I thought, someday this is going to be a part of my life. I don't know how and what, but I have to orchestrate it, engineer it, and do it all on my own. But I wanted this to be a part of my life. I started working with workhorses in the very beginning of time up in my cottage with the St. Jacques family, of which I learned to speak French, Bess and Belle, and I worked with them in the woods, pulling out logs and cutting hay and raking hay and putting it in the barn, and then I actually rode them bareback. So that was that. And then I worked with standardbreds, with the Weddells, driving and taking care of standardbreds. And then I worked up at the Mountain Road Riding School on the Mountain Road, working for rides on horses. So I worked my way through all of that, always being as much as I could being around horses. And I worked as a caddy on the Aylmer Road at the Gatineau Golf and Country Club as a caddy and as a fishing guide at my cottage up at Blue Sea Lake in the summers. And I was a ski instructor as well. Through all that, I gathered up enough money to buy my very, very first horse, Shindy, breeding, I don't know, no idea, but a young yearling, and I brought her up to my cottage and kept her in the field with the workhorses and broke her myself and rode her and on with her. So that was kind of the beginning, all self-taught, all self-taught. In the meantime, I pursued education as a way, not knowing where I was going to be and what I was going to make out of my life. So I went to Carleton University and got a Bachelor of Arts in French and Sociology. Then I went to and got a degree in social service and worked in the North Bay, Ontario Hospital for a year. And then I got an Ottawa Teaching College degree and taught school, all of which were great, but it wasn't going to be my life. My life changed drastically. I went off to the Man in His World horse show back when with Peter Stokel and a couple of horses from Dwyer Hill with before Ian was there. And I went there, and George Morris was there with such riders as Mac Cohn, Melanie Smith, Katie Monahan, Buddy Brown, Conrad Homefeld. I mean, my eyes opened wide open. And I thought, maybe everything I know, I don't know. This is brand new. This is another world. Their turnout, their showmanship, their hunters, everything was just like, it was a turning point in my life. I knew exactly at that point, this is where I'm going. This is what I'm going to do. So I turned around and I begged George Morris to take me on as a working student and to let me know. He left me a note on my door that night and said they were leaving at 6 in the morning. I drove back to Ottawa, packed up everything in my Volkswagen, went to Blue Bonnets Racetrack, told some people where to pick up my car, and I went down to Hunterdon, Pittsdown, New Jersey for 2 years, of which
Wow.
where I rode. In all the lessons, I worked, I mucked out, I managed, I took care of the barn. I went to the horse shows. I learned, I watched the schooling area, I studied it all, and I just couldn't get enough of it all. And I slept at the indoor shows, Washington, Harrisburg, and New York. I slept on the tack room floor, so I'd be up early in the morning to get my horses ready because I was so proud of what I was doing and all of that I was learning, and all the other horse shows that I attended. And to imagine back when, to think that I slept on those floors, to think that down the road that I would actually be judging all of those shows, which I did, including
Wow.
Devon, Upperville, and all those shows. That was amazing. So anyway, and then I came back from there to Canada, knowing that's where I want to be. I want my life to be in Canada, and I set up with Ian Miller, Dwyer Hill Farms, and Jackie Morrill, and we put that place on the map. We
No
went
kidding.
all over North America, hunters, Ian, hunters and jumpers. And we had the most famous hunters with Virginia Clay and other brothers, He's Fire, Game Plan, jumpers, Bandit, Countdown, Springer, Broadway Joe, Warrior, Year of the Cat. We're on the map all over North America, championships everywhere. So I had that run with Ian for the 12 years, of which we couldn't have had more success. I married Kathy Collard from Toronto and had my daughter Ryan. And then when Dwyer Hill folded, I turned around and I ended up going to Toronto and setting up Hunter's Glen. More opportunities in Ian went to Millerbrook, which his wife and himself she owned. They went there and set up their operation at Millerbrook. And I knew Ottawa wasn't really big enough, and I had more opportunities in Toronto, so that's where I went to start my career in Toronto,
Wow.
in
Wow.
Toronto, in Toronto.
I love it.
Anyway,
Well, let's unpack a bit of that because it was interesting for me. I don't think I had realized the George Morris connection with Dwyer Hill until I started doing some sort of deep dives into Dwyer Hill. And so I was curious. So, I mean, from what I read, yeah, absolutely. You are a student of the sport. You were passionate about it and loved it. And that's why you were pursuing going down to Hunterdon. But then how did that connect you back to Dwyer Hill? Was that via George or did you meet Jackie separately? I was just curious how that all kind of unfolded.
well, I knew Dwyer Hill from before with Peter Stokel. He was the
Ah,
original rider at Dwyer Hill, and I grew up with Peter on the Elmer Road with all these people, and him and I were buddies, and we rode together, and I showed as much as I did, and we showed at the same horse shows. He started up there, and I was with him at that point in time, but then I knew there was more to learn and more in this industry that was showing itself right in Ottawa, and I knew where I had to go to get all that, and that's where I went. And when I came back, Ian came on the scene and they asked me, and that's where, I was going to go back and get a master's in another degree, not knowing, is this going to work? Is this going to work? Can I really do this as a living in a lifetime? Which I did, and I was able
yeah.
to. And they brought me on as manager and the trainer, the resident trainer. And Ian and I jived and worked together and, we upgraded the whole thing. And we had every opportunity in the world. Wonderful opportunity, wonderful chance. But we proved our worth. I mean, Ian was the
Mm-hmm.
rider. Ian was the rider, and I had the knowledge that I had. Funnily enough, I knew that I wasn't destined to be a rider. I was a rider. I rode all the horses at Dwyer Hill. I flattered them all. But I wasn't, and I didn't have that ambition to go on and be a great rider. But I knew I wanted to be a trainer. I knew I wanted to manage, and I knew how I There's a little bit of horse in me.
Yeah.
I know how to get a horse to win. I mean, I know that. I don't know what instinct it is, but I know how to get them ready. I know how to prepare them. I know how to keep them happy. I know what to show them in, what divisions to show them in. And that's my expertise, which I learned all from the American scene. So I use that, and I feel that was a part of my success, was being able to do that. And that's where my future was laid out, right there, right there,
Yeah,
right
and
there.
it's fascinating to me because I mean George Morris is an icon of the sport. There's none of us that
Master,
you know.
master. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just think how focused you had to be to know this is the guy I need to go to, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. And the fact that you just up and left and went to Montreal, and I can picture your car at Blue
Oh
Bonnet
yeah, Blue Bonnets
Racetrack,
racetrack. Oh yeah, there I
just the
was.
whole. I just kind of wonder, so where did this passion and drive come from? I mean, I know you told me from a very early age, but like, was there anybody in your family in the past that had a horse
No
connection?
family, no history. It was all about me. I was the
Wow.
only one. My sister wouldn't come within a mile of a horse. My dad passed away when I was 5. I was raised by my grandmother. My mom was off at work. There was no history of anything. But I'm going to tell you, when I saw George, it's the entourage that he had around him and all the professionalism and the way they did it. You know what I mean? And I thought, you know what? Wait a minute. I think I know a lot. I know nothing. That's what
Mm-hmm.
I admit. I went down there as humble as could be, picked up a pitchfork and a broom, and I worked doing the stalls, cleaning the barn, and doing that. But my eyes were open, and my mind, I was just absorbing everything. And then I got to ride. I got in the lessons. But you talk about a famous group of riders in the world. I mean, Katie and Melanie and Mac and Conrad and Buddy Brown. All those riders and Teddy Isman, to be surrounded by that entourage and to be with them every day and living with them and working with them and showing. I mean, it was just a wealth of information. I helped Mac with his horses on the team at the Garden, and I helped Katie win the medal finals with Keneal Bay. I got him ready. I prepared him. I did all that. I got to play a little bit of a part of with all those famous riders. And I watched Rodney Jenkins get ready with his horses in the schooling area. And I watched what he did and how he did it. And you know what? I didn't rise up to be above anybody. I just wanted to take as much information as I could and go back and be the biggest success I could be in Canada and bring that along and upgrade that. And that's where I got all my information and all my knowledge was down there.
Wow. Wow.
All of
No.
it. And I could pick out a horse. I knew what they did to get ready, how they schooled. I watched winners do what they did. I just wasn't down there for a holiday. I mean, this was my education. And I used that 2 years to come back home and set up an operation, which I was thankfully allowed to do. And then when I did my own operation with Hunter's Glen in Toronto, I was able to continue that with my daughter with all the success she's had. Unbelievable. And I also found the horse of a lifetime. Can I tell you about that?
Yes, please
Well,
do.
the horse of a lifetime is Just Cruising. And now, funnily enough, I came by him. He originated, it was Spanish bred thoroughbred, came from Spain, went to Argentina to play polo, of which he failed miserably, put on a boat, sent up to Miami to be sold. In Miami, was found by Jerry Laframboise from Hudson, brought him and bought him out of Miami to bring him home to Hudson as a hunt horse. Well, as a hunt horse, he did not work out at all. Then he was sold to Donovan Woods in Ottawa as a dressage horse, which he absolutely hated and was really bad at. I was brought over because Donovan Woods was friends with Ian to say, what am I going to do with this horse? I said, let's see if he can jump. Well, there was his life. There was his life. Jump, you couldn't jump better. I bought him. And there was not one championship, there wasn't one thing that he didn't win all over North America. Green, confirmation, open, amateur, everything he won. And he was undefeated in the undersaddles. And he could also win the model. That's how beautiful he was. So that put me on the map. Sham was his barn name. That put me on map. And that started me in my business in Toronto. And then when I got him as high as we could possibly get him, it was time to sell him. So we sold him and he bought me a house and my
Wow.
family. Bought me a house and a family. And he went on to have a great life and a great retirement to a great family and a good situation. But, oh, and also, funnily enough, Ian Miller and I, which I was in business with for 12 years at Dwyer Hill, we both have the very first horses inducted into the Hall of Fame in Canada. Ian's in obviously with Big Ben, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm in with Just Cruising. First
Oh,
hunter into the Hall of Fame. And funnily enough, Ian and I come from the same town, Aylmer, Quebec, and the same street, Witchwood Drive. To
wow.
think, to think that similarity and that we ended up in business together and we both had the first horses inducted into the Hall of Fame. I mean,
That's
that's
crazy.
that's pretty amazing. I mean, I look back and that's one of my biggest honors is
Yeah.
having Just Cruising and having made him and saved him from all those history of horsemanship and those all that background that he never belonged to be a part of, you know,
Yeah.
and to
Yeah.
make him into what we made him into. Unbelievable.
And I was going to say you probably brought great joy to him. I mean, as you said, he
He
was doing.
loved doing what he did, and Kathy and him were a great combination. Kathy was undefeated; she showed in the amateur, and she showed him also in the regular conformation and won with him. And he was the joy of her life, the best horse she's ever had in her. And she's a great rider, and she had a lot of really exceptional horses. But he was top of the ladder, and he put us on the map. And he
Yeah.
helped me start up my own business and my own life. And then my daughter obviously has gone on and with all the success she's had with her ponies. I mean, who's had more ponies and winners than Three's a Crowd and Finally Eiffel Tower, Polaris Starship, Dawn Watcher, Mirabelle, and then all her junior hunters, Dreamcatcher, Willie Be Good, and to have those and to be the and her last year as a junior rider, she's the only rider to have had two horses qualify, and she was champion and reserve her last year at the Royal Winter Fair.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Wow. I
quite,
was going to say
and she's still
the apple does not fall far from the
no,
tree.
and she continues today to do it and rides numerous horses and championships and derbies. She's a star in the derby world, and I get to train her and help her and work with her still. So it's all very exciting. Very
Yeah.
exciting.
So
Very.
I'm also interested because you clearly like to learn. You've taken on all kinds of studies outside of horses, and then you decided. So at what point did you decide you wanted to be a judge? Because you're a senior international judge, which I presume means not just hunters, also jumpers. Am I correct
Yeah,
in that?
jumpers and
Yeah.
hunters. Yeah, but
Yeah.
but hunters is the big challenge. That's the big
Yes.
challenge.
Yeah.
So I remember way back when Dwyer Hill actually was maybe going to fold at the end of the circuit, and we were all going to go on. Ian was going to go to Millerbrook in Perth, and I was going to move on to Toronto and set up my business there. I went up on the hill in Tampa with my little notebook, and I sat on the hill and I practiced judging. And the judges were in the pavilion opposite me, and I would sit there and judge. And so often the results all coincided with what they did and what
Mm.
I was doing on the hill. And I adopted my own system, my own symbols, my own everything. And I worked away at that for quite a while. And then I went ahead and got my card, my Canadian card and my American card. And people always were asking, what are you going to do? They always wanted to wish us success because we'd been on this world tour all over North America, winning with our hunters and jumpers with Dwyer Hill. And when they heard that I was getting my judge's card, well, people hired me. I mean, they hired me. So that just blew up from there. So I got on the map, and over 40 years now of having judged all these prestigious, great horse shows. It's
Mm.
a big honor, and I still do them all. I mean, I still do all these big shows, and I'm so honored and respectful of it all and everything. And it's quite a big deal. And as you know, I went on to write numerous books about. I'm working. I have my 10th book out now. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, and it was interesting to me because I think you've written four on judging. Is that correct? And the last
Yeah,
one,
four maybe, yeah, pertaining to judging, and then my
yeah.
life with horses, and then Made in Canada, all the famous horses. I wrote a book about that, and then
So
Home Time, Showtime,
I'm
Home
trying
and
to,
on the road.
yeah. So I'm just trying to figure out how do you make this like how do you even make this life work? Because you are constantly on the road doing the judging. You're writing the books, getting them published. I mean, just the process of going through the actual stories. I'm just trying to picture, like, Randy Roy doesn't have a moment of rest.
No, no, and then I do a lot of, I do all the course designing as well at all the big horse shows, and I did that, and I do clinics, which I love. The
Yeah.
clinics everywhere. I get up early in the morning and I write. I write. I enjoy writing. I document pretty much everything that I do when I'm on the road. I spend a lot of time writing and keeping notes, and I wrote for Horse Sport magazine for a number of years with all the questions and answers that people were feeding me from asking, ask the judge, ask the judge.
Yes.
So I
Let's
did
talk.
that for
Let's
what,
yeah.
10 some
Let's.
odd years. And that's all incorporated into my new book called The Judge Tells All.
I was going
So,
to
okay.
ask where that came, because I was, when I was doing research, I did go through some of those articles and I learned quite a bit myself, because I'm a jumper rider rather than a hunter rider. But I certainly realized that the hunters are kind of the basis for all that we do. And there's so many trainers out there that will ask questions. One of the reasons I wanted to interview was I had a couple of pros who said, could you please ask what are they looking for these days, because I just not really sure. And I don't know, does it vary from judge to judge in terms of what your expectations are, or is there an overall sort of general rule of thumb?
Well, let me put that pretty concisely into a small package, if I can. Again, the book, my last book, The Judge Tells All, is about judging and how to do it, and easy to follow. And it's for not only judges, and it also encompasses a lot of, um, uh, stable management, a lot of great stories. It's for small R, big R judges. It's for trainers, riders, bill paying parents. It's
Hmm.
for people to easily understand where the whole thing is. It's got so much in it, you have no idea. I mean, I did it all and was able to finish this last one off, my 10th book, during COVID, because that was a dead
Mm.
time. I wasn't on the road and finished it off then. But I'm going to say what the judge is looking for primarily, it's pretty universal. I think you got to, number one, I always called it a jumping contest. Your job is to pick out the best jumper. The
Mm.
best jumper. Don't miss the best jumper. Watch them all. Keep your bookkeeping really concise so you spend more time watching than writing, but it's a jumping contest. Now, if we get movement on top of that, bonus. If we get confirmation and looks, beautifully built, beautiful to look at, bonus on top. Manners on top, if they're mannerly and if they're even and is even way of going. But remember, it's a jumping contest. If you get
Mm.
all the other ingredients, well, that's what you get in Palm Beach a lot of times at those horse shows. I mean,
Mm.
they're top of the line. If you're looking, when you get it all, you have it all, and you will reward that accordingly. But your job is to pick out the best jumper. It is a jumping contest. They have
Mm.
to jump around. That's first. The
And
rest are
what
all bonuses and all additions. But your job is, with your bookkeeping, is to pick out the best jumper.
and what constitutes the best jumper?
Oh, the horse that gets there leaves a little air over the jumps, jumps high, round, uses his head and neck, stretches out over the jump, a beautiful bascule, a little bit slower in the air, not quick, not flat, not hitting the jump, a little scope, which I say a little air above the jump, and landing, taking off quietly, softly, and landing nicely, and just cantering the same way he approached the jump, all even and nice. And the great jump, you'll know a great jumper. I mean, on my card, I'll see horses come in the ring, and one will come in and jump exceptional. Well, I'll put a plus on that box, saying that when I look back to refer to say which is the better one, well, oh, that one out jumped the other ones. You remember
Mm.
that, and you have a description of each one, so you can note right away which one went where, and your bookkeeping's got to be the best. That's a big challenge for your bookkeeping to be good. It's not an easy job. It's not a full-time job. It's a responsible job, and you owe it to the industry to pick out and do the best you can, that's what you're hired for. So
Mhm.
I feel very comfortable doing it. I'm happy. I'm thrilled. I'm honored about every horse show. Just to recall, I mean, I just finished doing Palm Beach. I always do the May maybe the first show, and down there you have the best of the best of the best. So
Mm-hmm.
there you have in front of you 27 first-year green horses, and the first three in the ring I have in the 90s. 90s. The
Mm-hmm.
90s. And you're only pinning 8. You know what? My cutoff score was 87.5. You know what?
Wow.
You come home with 87.5 to Renfrew or Richmond or Ottawa or Calgary, you you can win with an 85, but 87.5 didn't get a ribbon. That's what people are saying. Can you imagine getting an
Mm.
87.5 in Florida and not even making the jog?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's how good they are. So,
Oh, it's a thrill.
so,
You're on the edge of your chair judging. Edge of
so,
your chair judging.
so
Yeah.
one of my questions around that is the best jumper today a different best jumper from 10 years ago? Have the hunters changed in,
No.
no. Okay. I love
I
that.
wish you could post a picture. I can give you because I had him and I know he was the best. I could give you a picture of say 40 years ago, 40, yeah, 40 years ago, of just cruising in Tampa, jumping. The first jump was an oxer, and that horse today would win. The very same.
Mm,
That jump would be the ultimate winner. That jump
mhm,
doesn't change. It doesn't change because that's the bascule. That's the
mhm,
form. That's the look. That's the expression. That's what you want. That's what
mm,
everybody's looking for. And they're hard to find and hard to make up, but that would not change. And that movement wouldn't change. And the
mm,
look wouldn't change. And same as
mm,
the equitation. The riders, look how beautifully they rode back when. You know what I mean? And
mhm,
somebody always says to me, "Oh, I want to judge equitation with you. I want to judge equitation." I said, "You know what? It doesn't come down to the style and the look of the rider." I said, "You know what you need to do to win? You need to find the jumps.
mhm,
Find the jump. That is the winner. And then you can split them up when you have a tie. Well, maybe a little more stylish, maybe a little better position. You can get to those finer points, but find the jumps first. That's the winner."
I like that.
Yeah, I know. So
So,
lots to think about, lots that you learn over the years and how to do it and what you're comfortable with. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm also interested. So, have courses for hunters changed from 10 years ago? Because I feel like there's such a shift in the jumper ring, in terms of technicality and what you're seeing. But I love that it almost sounds to me like the hunters have remained classic. So, I don't know, have there been changes in what you do in the hunter ring as far as courses?
No, no. I think the best course is where all of them go well. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And you're not trying to trick them or trap them. And it's not like jumper where you're trying to get faults somewhere and you don't want everybody to go clean. Huntering, you design and lay that route out so it's accommodating with the lines, with the distances, with building the jumps, filling them in, making them all like so horses can jump beautifully. You can release, let go. It's you want the best, the nicest track to bring out the best in your horses. You don't need it to be challenging, but those challenges come up a little bit now as we're into the derbies, which are another field. That's another one, having a
Mm-hmm.
derby horse. Well, there you can show some more turns and some options, turning inside, like a little more handy hunter type of a route, but still big jumps, solid jumps, good jumps. And again, it's a jumping contest. You got to jump
Mm-hmm.
first place first, and then you can be handy as you want to be and turn back and gallop a little more. It calls for maybe a little more of a galloping course and maybe a little more forward lines, all of the above. Yeah, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
It's a new door open for the hunters, and people are really into the derbies. I don't want to get into that about how we've kind of lessened it a little bit because they're going down to 2 foot derbies. That wasn't the
Right.
design originally. They were meant to be like at the Royal Winter Fair, 3-6 with 4 foot options. We don't have 3 foot derbies and 2 foot 3 and 2 foot. We don't have, but everybody latched onto the derbies. I think it could be another name assigned to them, like a classic or a hunter special. But I don't think the derbies to be were meant to be high end and bigger and substantial, and for those horses that jump real jumps and not to bring them way down to that low level. I feel another name could get put on them. That's the way I
Mm-hmm.
feel.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
I,
yeah,
I would I would concur with you on that. So
yeah,
my other,
yeah.
so I guess my other question from a competitor's point of view is there one? I guess I mean there's probably 1,000 things that you could give as a piece of advice, but is there one piece of advice you would have for, I would say, you know, adult amateurs or children's riders that you see on the circuit today that you feel, that would improve their ride in the ring? Is there something that you see? I don't know if there's, just one thing that you see that is, say, a common mistake or error or something that could be improved upon, but I was wondering if you would have any piece of advice that way.
No, I think they're well mounted. I think there's a lot of good selection out there. I think adults, especially there, that's a tough division.
Mm.
There's some really good horses there, and they're jumping 3 foot, so that's a little easier for them. And they're well prepared by the professionals showing them during the week, and they're well mounted, and they're taught well, and the children's hunters as well. I think as a rule, they're well mounted and they're well prepared. And that's a nice division. It's a nice step up to the amateur owner hunters if they want to go, if they want to stay in the adults, they're comfortable maybe with their age or whatever, and they're not able to ride as much. And that's a height and a division they're happy with. And it's totally 100% competitive and very difficult. So, I'm all for it. It's very good. I say, I don't want to really get into this. It's another can to open, which
Yeah.
I don't want to, but sometimes I think, which Ray Butterfield is starting up some new seminars this fall, trying to re-educate or bring people along to a little better level because he feels we're being demined and lessened a little bit, and things aren't quite up to where they should be. And I'm in agreement with that. So I'm going to attend and be a participant in the coaching and the judging part of those clinics. And I think at a lot of the horse shows, it's more so not what's being offered to accommodate every rider at low height divisions, which I don't love. It's the preparation and the trainers. I'm gonna put the onus on the trainers and say they need to be upgraded. They need to educate a little bit better. They need a little more knowledge themselves, and they need to do their job. They need to do their homework and their job a little bit better because a lot of times what's being put in the ring is above the horse's capabilities and the riders, and it's a little scary and it's not comfortable. And I think it's sliding down a little bit. And that's the feeling I get. And it's not just me, it's many people saying that. And I know judging the shows and seeing them sometimes, it's a difficult task. And you think to yourself, you look over and think, they really don't belong. They shouldn't be here. They need to go
Hmm.
back to basics. They need lessons. They need some help. They're here because it's offered for them, but they shouldn't be here. And I'll tell you, you can ask many judges as well as myself, and you'll find they're all on the same page. They think,
Well,
a lot of people are at the shows that should not be at the horse shows. Yeah.
so yeah, so let's go down that road a little bit because that is something I've brought up with a few Grand Prix riders because I also find as well in the jumper division as a competitor, it feels like people coming into the sport today seem to want to like jump to the high levels, immediately. There's no, kind of earning your stripes, taking the time to really get to know the industry, the horses, knowing all of their intricacies before they're wanting to move up to the next level. So I agree with you. I certainly see that it seems there are, unfortunately, a lot of ill prepared um, amateur riders coming out to the horse shows. So how do you address that? Because yeah, I mean, what I'm finding even in my division is now they kind of dumb down the courses. So we're no longer seeing the sort of combinations that we used to have. I don't even necessarily see Liverpools in 1.10 m. And I think that's because people, aren't prepared coming into the horse show. So how do you address that?
Well, again, it's being dummied down, and as you know, and my bone of contention is that the onus is on the trainers. The trainers, the
Mhm.
teachers, the people that teach, they need to be upgraded. They maybe need a little more education. They need to be a little more with it, and they need to properly bring their horses and riders along to the level that they're showing in, and being able to do that. I mean, I wouldn't let anybody go to the horse show unless they were properly prepared and they were ready. That isn't the stage that I need. If I go to the horse show, I'm going to be the winner. I'm going to win.
Mhm.
And I want them to be able to win and be competitive. I'm not going there to practice. I can do that.
Mhm.
I need to do it at home, and I need to get ready at home. Another example is I'll watch. I course design, so I'll see somebody go in the ring that goes like so fast and miss their leads, and they not jumping well, and I'm saying, oh my gosh, where should they be? They shouldn't be here. Why are they here? And it's a
Mhm.
little bit, I think, abuse, and the rider looks a little scared, and they're running around the ring like Mach 10, fast, a little
Mhm.
dangerously. And I'll go over with back-to-back classes on my bicycle, and I'll go over to the in-gate because I'm curious. I want to hear what that trainer has to say before they go back for the second round. And you know what? I've done this countless times. I'm appalled. They
Mhm.
don't go out to the schooling area and teach them how to slow down and pick up the reins and maybe back them up a few steps, or go out and maybe teach them a lead change. They shouldn't be teaching a lead change now. Anyway, that should be done at home and maybe practicing a little bit more and getting ready to fix. No, they just go over to the second course and send them back in. Well, you know
Mhm.
what? That doesn't work for me. Doesn't work at
No,
all.
no.
Anyway, that's what I'm saying. And this whole seminar symposium thing that's happening is because a lot of people are feeling the same thing. We're losing ground. We're going backwards instead of forwards. And I'm not talking Palm Beach, but I don't need the gold show, the silver shows to be. They can be gold. They can
Mhm.
graduate and be gold, but it needs to be a stepping stone where people are there properly prepared and ready to go in the ring to show.
Mhm.
And
And
horses. And horses. Yep.
and why do you think we've got to this point? That is my curiosity, because it does feel like in Canada the sport has declined substantially. And I wondered why
Well,
is that?
Okay, I'm gonna stick my neck out here a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I'm not saying the horse shows are at fault. They're offering what people want. They want
Mm,
cross trails. They want to bring whatever they have in the barn, school
mm,
horse, whatever. They want to bring whatever, and it's billing and it's paying, and they want to be at the horse show, and everybody can be at the horse show. It's like
mm.
you can show. Well, you know what? When I see divisions coming down to crossroads and down to what we have now, rails
Yeah.
on the ground, rails.
Yes.
Rails. You got that? That's
Yeah.
RAILS on the ground. They're not buried, but they're close to buried with the grooming of the ring and everything. Sometimes they're buried. That's what they're jumping. They're
Mhm.
jumping rails on the ground, and they're
Mhm.
having a diagonal to make a state class and a championship. Well, you know what? Do it at home. And this,
Mhm.
we're at the horse show. This is an A show or a whatever level show it is. So anybody can come. Anybody can come and show. But that if that's what's offered, I'm not saying not to offer it. People want it, but that's what they're going for. Well, back up a little bit. The cross rails and the little low jump division, that's exercises at home to get
Mhm.
ready. So you teach them position, you make sure they do their leads, you make sure they're rideable, all of the above. And it needs some revamping. And trainers need to step up to the plate and say, you're not ready, or do something about getting them ready and getting them
Mhm.
better. That
Mhm.
that I'm not seeing.
No.
You know, I'm not the only one. I'm not.
Oh
This is
no.
not me. I mean, they're putting on this and they've asked me to partake in it. They might not like what they're going to hear, but it's what it is. It's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not talking Palm Beach. It doesn't need to be Palm Beach. Listen, I judge a lot of other caliber horses as well. And I always wonder, you need to do something about getting better. I I introduced a new format during COVID for a clinic, and I titled it "Show and Tell." Can I
Mm.
elaborate a little bit
Yes,
on what
please
that is?
do. Please
Okay,
do.
so show and tell meant to me that it was a dead time. It was a no-show time, and several people, Becky News, Taylor Brooks, different people hosted these clinics, and they would have I say, here's the program. You're going to get all your riders and your horses ready, and we're going to do hunters one day, and we're going to do equitation the next day. We're going to do hunter over jumps and hunter on the flat, and then equitation on the flat and equitation over fences. You're going to get ready. I'm going to sit over there and be the judge. You're going to get ready and you're going to come in and show over a designated course. And all of you are going to show. I'm going to come over. I'm going to announce the results, and I'm going to give you your scores. Now, today, you're 72. That at the end of that session, here's what I'm going to tell you how you can be an 82 or maybe even a 92.
Hmm.
So that's the part that I felt very constructive about doing. I was giving back to the industry what the industry has given me. And I would say, here's a little fix. Here's something you can do. Here's why I gave you a 72, but here's what you could do. Here's the way, what I'm looking for, and I think your horse is capable of it. Here's what you can do to get an 82 or an 84. Same thing as the flat. They walk, trot, canter. I pin it. Then I said, okay, here's maybe this gait could be improved. That gait could be something different. You could had too much flexion. You had too much here. You didn't show enough canter. Your horse is a little bit strong and needs a little bit more quiet. All of the above. I can tell them all the things that would make them better and improve them and upgrade them. Same with equitation. I thought those clinics were fun to do, really fun,
I
and
bet.
educational. Educational.
No, I think that's a fabulous approach.
I know, and even said to the kid, I said, "Well, your horse house, you could get a group of people here, and I'm not going to offend any trainer. I'm just going to say, if you send this in front of me and you've gotten them ready and they're stepping in the ring and they're showing me their best, well, that's the score I give them, and I'm going to pin them accordingly. But let's say I can sixth place right today. That girl on the chestnut, she can be first if she does
Mm.
this. She
Hmm.
can be first. That's the job that I'm delegated to do, and I'm capable of doing, and that's the information that they need to have. And I don't want to step on any trainers. I'm saying trainers are invited to attend this, but it's also like an education for them as
Hmm.
well. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So it's an opportunity for me to do it. Maybe some people did want to do it in Toronto because Toronto is the big end, and maybe I would thought it might offend some trainers if I was to tell them start teaching their students, and I'm not there to steal clients. I have enough.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
need any more. I don't need any more business. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to educate.
No, it feels like you're trying to give back and give them useful
Exactly.
information that will move
Right.
them
What the
forward.
industry has given me. Exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm. So
Oh
I
my God,
guess
I'm probably talking way too much here.
no, I'm loving this. I'm loving this. So I also wanted to hear. So, I mean, you've been all over the world doing both course design and judging
And clinics.
and
Yep.
clinics.
Yep.
Is there some place that is just it just speaks to you as your favorite venue simply because of the people or the location or some sort of experience you've had? I mean, I know it's a hard question to ask when you've been to probably so many places, but are there any, as I said, places that really stick out in your mind?
Oh, there's so many. Oh my God. Oh my God. So many horse shows, so many people. I think one of the highlights of my life is seeing the looks on people's faces when I'll do a clinic and
Mhm.
I'm able to teach and I can relate to the audience and I can relate to what's in front of me and I can see that improvement as I'm working with that horse or rider. And I won't stop until I know I can get that done because I feel a part horse about all that stuff. So that's what I'm doing. Uh,
Mhm. Mhm.
I feel so I'm getting that done, and I think the looks on their faces, and what they're looking at me, and the reward, and that's my reward right there. And I had one father even come to me and say, "You know what? I have been to so many horse shows and spent so much money, but listening to you and going through what you're going through and explaining it, I learned more in 20 minutes than I have in 4 years." You
Wow.
know, I mean, I like my clinics, and the reward I get there is from the students and the riders, and seeing the horses get better, and the riders and the audience being able to. I engage them. They need to be able to relate to all this as well. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And is there a favorite horse show venue that you've judged at?
Palm Beach is the big apple. It's the big
Mhm.
apple. It's the thrill with all the best in North America are all down there. All the best horses and riders. That's a thrill and an honor to do. When I get invited back there to do that, that's a really, really big deal. Really big deal. Yeah.
And then I
No,
guess my other question would be, is there any horse show you have not officiated at that you would like to officiate at?
I'm going to say no.
Wow. How awesome is that? There's nothing left on the bucket list for
I know.
officiating.
He's my friend. Oh, green back. Yeah, oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah, Canon. Okay. Sorry, somebody was right beside me here.
Oh,
What
no
was that?
worries. No, I
Okay.
was just saying, how lucky are you at this point in your career to say, no, there's actually nowhere left on my bucket list
No,
that I want to officiate at? How
no, I've
about,
been invited. I, as a Canadian, honored Canadian, and a thrilled Canadian, and a lucky Canadian, to officiate it at Devon to Upperville to uh, Oxridge and Farmington. and Fairfield. I mean, I can't name the shows. Lake Placid. I've been to all of Cincinnati, all of them. Out west, all the California shows. No,
So,
I mean, I'm going there continuously as we speak. I mean, I'm on the road. I downsized a little bit. I took the course designing and dropped it a little bit because it's physical work, a lot of physical work. And so I've let that go quite a bit, but I do a few. And judging, I'm put myself down to 2 a month now. 2 months.
Oh, okay.
And I got a cottage. I worked all my life. I want to enjoy it up here a little bit. I want to
So,
enjoy my life. And I got my daughter who I help with her horses, and my son, and I'm a grandfather now, and my son, and he's in Orangeville, and I'm enjoying all that. So
so
I'm
I
blessed.
guess
I'm lucky.
it sounds like it. So I was going to say, I guess my last question for you would be, what's next? What's on the horizon for you that you have left on your bucket list? Is there another book in you, or?
No, this last book, The Judge Tells All, it tells it all. It tells it all. It's all in there, and it's my biggest one. And the other ones are all sold out, which is great. It's wonderful. And also, okay, where you can get that book? Let me do
Yes.
that little plug because great Christmas gift idea, and it's
Mm-hmm.
educational, and it'll never go be outdated. It's, as you said, the hunter from 30, 40 years ago is still the hunter today. Well, all the information in this book will still be good and golden way down the road. Way down. It's the same thing we're looking for, the judge, and it's how to judge and how to do it, and follow the rules, and it's all in there, and lots more information. You can get it at Randy Roy Books at gmail.com. And what I plan on doing, no more books. I'm looking forward to the symposium and these clinics where we can kind of dress up the show world a little bit more. Where we can get back on a platform where we need to be, and people need to understand it. And it's an invite to trainers and all the teachers that they can come and learn and upgrade and get people back to a level where we need them to be at. So I feel that's our responsibility, that we can give back to the industry. And I think Ray Butterfield putting this on is a wonderful thing. And he's got 4 different stages between coaching and judging and preparation. He's laying it all out in different stages, different periods of time. So I think that's a good thing. And because he's a little fed up with it all, as a lot of people are. A lot of people are. And they said, well, Matt Cohn and Di Langer, a lot of people. And my daughter Ryan, she said, Dad, when I go to the horse shows and I judge the silver industry, I just feel, it's disappointing. It's not easy, and I'm painting horses that should not be rewarded for having gone the way they went with low scores. And actually,
Mm-hmm.
that's my other thrill, is that being now with my daughter in the judging world as well. We were very honored this year. We did World Champion Hunter Week in New York together. First show ever, father-daughter team,
That's
father-daughter.
that's very cool.
We did that, and we did the Derby together, and we're never more than 2 points off. So we're on the same page, and she's a great judge, and I like to see her coming up through the ranks, doing that and showing as well. And so that's all thrilling,
Wow, that
exciting.
is, well, fabulous.
Yep.
Well, Randy, I really want to thank you for your exceptional effort in terms of joining me today and giving me all of this time for our listeners. I've had fun chatting with you, and I wish you the best success in whatever comes up for you next.
I love it, and I so thank you for interviewing me, and I hope this helps somebody, that's what I'm hoping, and it helps somebody. And with my book, I'm excited about that, and that's for all of you. That book is only a success because of what you have helped me with along my horse trails. Yep.
If you would like to learn more about the podcast and upcoming guests, please feel free to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Horse Tales with Cat.